Hi, I'm Don Stegall of RC Pro. This year, Warbird Racing will be held at the 2016 Pylon Nationals. This is an exciting development. We're also going to be having Club 40 at the Nats, and they happen to be on the same day. I probably will wind up flying in Club 40, but in 2015 I tore up a couple of my airplanes before the Nats and I didn't get to attend. So I'm getting an early start on getting airplanes together. And I have multiple reasons for working on this airplane. This is the Dago Red 46 by the World Models. I've had this airplane since 2003 or 2004, and I put a YS FZ63S engine in it. This engine is a supercharged 4-stroke engine, and they're very powerful engines. It uses a pressurized fuel system, and the engines just have an awesome sound because you don't use muffler pressure, and typically the guys in Warbird Racing don't put mufflers on their engines, so the sound is really cool. I have another reason for working on this airplane. The World Models came out with a plane called the Spitfire 40, and the Spitfire 40 is designed around the YS 115 FZ WS Warbird Special engine. This is a very strong engine, and it's a lot more powerful than this 63. I want to get some experience running the 63 again. I haven't flown this airplane since 2007 or so, and it needs quite a bit of repair. Like, I need to paint the canopy and the covering's coming off, but I was flying it a whole lot in 2004 to 2006, and probably 2007 and 2008 some. I ran races at Charlotte Motor Speedway for Club 40, 424, and Quickie 25 in 2008 and 2009. And I got a couple of guys to participate in Club 40 that were NMPRA pylon racers. Well, Jim Katz was already an NMPRA racer, but Mike Langlaw, who produces the Nelson engines, got really hooked on Club 40 racing. And now we have a very nice 3-pole facility outside of Greensboro, North Carolina. That facility has a 525-foot runway, and it should be a very nice place to fly the Warbirds, as there are no noise restrictions, and with that long of a runway it should be real gentle on the retractable landing gear. Now, I have flown this airplane off of grass fields, even my own field behind my house, but it does best on smooth Bermuda or a paved runway. Fescue grass cut at a couple inches doesn't work too well with Retracts. I'm going to show you a little bit about this airplane, and then I'm going to take off the cowl and show the engine installation. You can see it has retractable landing gear, and it has a belly pan on it. I'm going to turn it on and exercise the control surfaces and put the retracts up, and then I'll have a few comments about the retracts, and then I'm going to take the cowl off of the engine. Now, the main reason for doing this is I need to run the 63 on the test stand and get refamiliarized with the YS engines before I tackle the 115. I don't want to take a chance on tearing up a $400 plus engine, and these engines are so powerful that I just want to get a little time on the test stand with it. So let me turn it on, and we have pretty minimal control at low rates, and not a whole lot of rudder in it either. And if I hold it up, and flip the gear up, you see it tucks the gear right away, and you can also see that the covering's coming off. I flew this airplane a whole lot. It's got hundreds of flights on it. So I'm going to put the landing gear back down. The World Models has come out with electric retracts for their P51 series airplanes. The Dago Red that they have doesn't currently have them, and neither does the Voodoo, but the P51 46 planes do have the electric retracts, and the new Spitfire also has the retracts that have 4.5mm struts, which are the same retracts that fit into these older models by the World Models. One of the things I'm going to do is retrofit the retractable gear in here with the gear that is the same gear that's in the Spitfire, and I'm going to redo some of the covering and just get this airplane back in workable shape so I'll have an airplane. They'll go in the 100 to 125 mile per hour range. It would be a bronze to silver class airplane. Probably wouldn't be a contender in silver, but would probably be a good contender in bronze. So now I'm going to take the cowl off of the engine and show you the engine installation. I started recording this section and I didn't have the video recorder on. So this is a little bit of a redo. I don't remember exactly where I left off, but one thing I've done is I put some oil in the glow plug hole and in the exhaust, and I'm turning it over, and it feels a little rough, but I can definitely hear the air moving through the engine. Now I'm hoping it's not rusting the bearings, so I'm probably going to wind up doing a partial tear down of the motor, or engine I should say, after I get it out of the cowl. First thing I'm going to do is take off the spinner. And I had a spinner nut on the front of the locking prop nut, and these aren't quite as tight as they were before I blew it and had to start re-videotaping. So this propeller was on a lot tighter than this. And speaking of which, this model used to come with an aluminum spinner. I'm not sure it still does, but on these high performance engines you need to use a metal spinner. This is a 3 1/4 inch spinner. You can get a Dave Brown Vortec. The threads on these YS engines are 8mm by 1.0. Sato's are 8 by 1.25 on their larger engines. So with the spinner off, now I'm going to take the cowl off, and before I do that, I'm going to take the needle valve out. I have a wire extension on the needle valve. I need my glasses for this. And all you can see are the fuel tubings that go from portions of the engine. This is a regulator that provides pressure to the tank It's about 10 to 12 pounds. Okay, on the fuel lines, the pink line is the fuel line and the blue line is the pressure line. The pressure line comes out of the regulator, and I ran it into a T, and I have a stopper. And what I do is release the pressure on the tank first, and then I open the fuel line and I fuel it. And there's a filter on the fuel line, and there's a check valve on the pressure line. So as it's building up pressure, it doesn't let the pressure back out of the tank. So the tank will be under pressure. And actually I wrapped the tank in nylon strapping tape. So that's the front end of the airplane, and I had drilled and tapped the motor mount so I don't have nuts on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and take the engine off. And I'm going to remember that my pink fuel line is on top of the regulator and my blue line is on the bottom of the regulator. And of course you can go to the YS website and get the manual. The website is being refurbished and we'll have a lot of new information on it soon. So the engine's free of the airplane and it feels a little rough, and I'm a little concerned about that. I think what I'm going to do is take the valve cover off, have a look at the valves, and take the back plate off, which will expose the supercharging mechanism. And I'm going to go ahead and disconnect that fuel line now. And I'm going to we'll take the valve cover off. I'm going to try putting some oil down in the push rod tubes. That seems to have been a significant source of the roughness, was the push rods in the tubes. It's already feeling a lot smoother. And what I'm going to do is take off the cam cover . Well, I couldn't get into the back of the engine. I don't know if it's just that it's so gummed up from all the running that I did, or if I just don't know what I'm doing with the YS engines yet, which is why I was playing with the 63 before I start working with the 115. I won't take 115 apart until I have to. If I blow one up running 60% nitro or something, I may try taking one apart. But the YS engines are definitely much more complicated than two-stroke and even a lot of four-stroke engines because of the supercharger in the crankcase. So I'm just going to tighten it all back down. And I'm going to lube it up real good. Put a lot of oil into the intake. See if it frees it up. Seems to be freeing it up significantly, so I don't think the bearings are rusted, so I'm not going to mess with trying to take the bearings off. All I'm going to do is put it on the test stand. After lubing the engine up and getting the push rods lubricated and putting some oil in the intake and getting it worked through the engine feels a whole lot better. So I'm going to put it on the test stand and see how it runs, and hopefully we'll have decent weather in the next couple of days and I can get that done. So if I get my engine back together and running, then I'll start to work on the airplane. Otherwise I'll be looking at a YS FZ63S, which is the same mounting pattern as the YS 63, and I'll send this back to YS for service and get them to get it back in gear. RC Pro Warbird racing and the warbird racing that's done in California is a very exciting form of racing. It's known as bracket racing. The three brackets are bronze, silver, and gold, and they have times for each class that if you exceed the time, then you break out and you get no points. This allows a wide range of airplanes and engine combinations to compete, and the Warbird Nats, the rules are on the NMPRA website, and like I said earlier, there's a Facebook section for the Warbird Nats, or a Facebook page. And there's also the RC Warbird Racing page that I created and a number of other people help with, including Burt Mitchell, who's the RC Pro Warbird Committee Chairman. One difference between the RC Pro Warbird Racing and the racing that's going to be done at the NAPS is that RC Pro does not have a wing area chart, and they count on the brackets to separate the tiers of competition. They also allow electrics to run. Electrics will not be allowed at the Warbird Racing at the NATS. But you can put just about any warbird with a reasonable powered engine and compete in one tier. So if you can make it to Muncie, Indiana on July the 15th and July the 16th and participate in warbird racing, I think you'll have a really good time. If you're not ready for warbird racing, Club 40 will be run on Saturday, July the 16th, and you can go to club40racing.com to get the information, or just go to club40naps.com, and it has the information on the rules that will be used for Club 40. So thanks for watching, and I'll have this engine on the test stand hopefully within a few days, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching.